One morning, I came home early because I forgot my keys. That's when I saw my wife with my best friend in our bed. 9 years of marriage, my kids, Uncle Mike, gone in an instant. I had ignored the tiny signs, the private messages, the little excuses, and now everything exploded right before my eyes. I just smiled because the coldest revenge had already begun forming in my mind. I'm 36 years old. I live in a quiet suburb just outside Phoenix, Arizona. One of those picture-perfect neighborhoods where the lawns are always mown, the driveways spotless, and neighbors wave like they're in a commercial. From the outside, we were that family. Nice house with a pool out back, 2 incredible kids, a wife I would have sworn I could trust with my soul. My son, Ethan, is 7, obsessed with soccer and anything with fangs or scales. My daughter, Mia, is 4. Every evening she sprints to the door screaming, "Daddy's home," and launches herself at my legs like I've been gone for years. Those tiny arms wrapping around me after a brutal day at work, that's the kind of moment that makes every sacrifice feel worth it. Emily, my wife, worked from home as a graphic designer. She was brilliant, warm, the kind of person who made everyone feel seen the second they stepped through our door. Our home felt alive when she was in it. And then there was Mike, my best friend since freshman year of college. We survived on ramen, bad decisions, and all-night cram sessions. Over the years, he became family. He helped me move into my first real place. He stood beside me at my wedding. When Ethan was born, Mike was the second call I made after my parents. He was over all the time, watching games, fixing things around the yard, or just cracking open beers in the garage while we laughed about the dumb stuff we did in our 20s. Emily used to tease, "Mike's not a third wheel. He's basically your brother." And I believed it. I trusted him in my home, around my kids, with my life. Every Thursday night was our ritual. Kids in bed by 8:30. Emily would pour herself a glass of wine. Mike would show up with a 6-pack. We'd sit in the garage, trading old stories, bullshitting about nothing and everything. It felt unbreakable. Looking back, the signs were there. Small shifts, lingering glances I dismissed, texts I never questioned. Times when the energy in the room changed for a split second and I told myself I was imagining it. But when you love and trust people that deeply, your mind protects you. It refuses to see what would destroy you. Because the people who can hurt you the most are almost always the ones you never saw coming. The betrayal didn't explode in some dramatic Hollywood scene. It crept in quietly, through tiny moments I ignored, excuses I made, blind spots I refused to acknowledge. Until that one ordinary morning, the morning I forgot my keys, and everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and family came crashing down. If I'm being completely honest, the signs were there long before that morning. Not screaming red flags, nothing blatant or movie-like, just quiet, nagging little things. The kind your gut notices for a split second before your brain rushes in to rationalize them away, because facing what they really meant would have shattered everything. It started with Emily's phone. She used to leave it lying around everywhere. Kitchen counter, coffee table, even in the kids' reach. Ethan would sometimes snag it to play a game and she'd just laugh it off. But over months, that changed. Now it was always face down, always an arm's length away. The second a notification pinged, she'd snatch it up. And every now and then, she'd get this small, private smile while staring at the screen. The kind reserved for something intimate, something not meant for anyone else. The first time I casually asked who it was, she brushed it off with a laugh. Just a client being weird again. Graphic design work comes with late-night texts and odd requests. I bought it. I wanted to. Then Mike started bailing on plans. Mike, the guy who never canceled. Rain, exhaustion, whatever, he'd show up. But suddenly, work ran over. Something came up. Maybe next week, man. At first, I chalked it up to life. Everyone gets busy.
but the excuses piled up and they started feeling rehearsed. Then came the night my late meeting got canceled out of nowhere. I headed home early, no heads up. Pulled into the driveway and saw Mike's truck parked next to Emily's SUV. My first thought, cool, he must have dropped by. He'd done it 100 times. No reason to think twice. But the house felt too still. No lights on downstairs, no TV hum, just silence. I walked in quietly.
And that's when I heard it. Laughter drifting down from upstairs. Not kid giggles, not a show playing. Soft, close, intimate laughter. The kind that happens when two people are sharing space they think no one else can see. My stomach twisted, but I told myself I was paranoid. Mike was family. Emily was my wife. My mind was playing tricks. So I climbed the stairs, knocked on the bedroom door. It opened almost instantly. Emily stood there in her robe, hair tousled, eyes wide with that flash of surprise, like I'd caught her off guard. Behind her, Mike sat on the edge of our bed, fully clothed, scrolling his phone. He looked up, casual as ever. "Hey, bro." Emily jumped in fast. Mike was just helping me troubleshoot something on my laptop. Design glitch. Mike nodded. "Yeah, she pinged me about it. Figured I'd swing by since I know a bit." It was plausible. Awkward, sure, but not proof. Not enough to blow up a life over. So I did what people do when the alternative is too painful. I swallowed it, nodded, cracked a joke, let it go. But once the seed of doubt is planted, you can't uproot it. After that, I started seeing more. The way Emily laughed a beat too long at Mike's jokes. The casual arm touch that lingered a second longer than friendly. Inside jokes they tossed back and forth, ones I wasn't in on. Subtle, deniable, but impossible to ignore once you've seen them. I never confronted them, not then, because I loved my family more than I feared the truth. The thought of my wife and my best friend crossing that line, it was unthinkable. So I buried it, convinced myself I was overthinking, told myself everything was fine. Until the morning I forgot my keys, turned around 20 minutes after leaving for work, walked back into my house, and saw something that burned every excuse, every denial, every fragile hope I had left straight to ash. That Wednesday morning felt like every other. Ordinary. Phoenix heat already building by 8 a.m., sun glaring off the rooftops, neighborhood quiet except for school buses and kids shouting goodbye. I kissed Ethan on the top of his head as he slung his backpack over his shoulder. Mia latched onto my leg like always. "Don't forget the ice cream tonight, Daddy." I laughed, promised I wouldn't, and ruffled her hair. Emily stood at the kitchen counter pouring coffee. She leaned in for the goodbye kiss, soft, familiar, the same one we'd shared thousands of times. If you'd snapped a photo right then, it would have looked like the perfect suburban family. But the most flawless moments are often the ones guarding the ugliest secrets. I grabbed my keys, climbed into the truck, and pulled out. Traffic was light, music low, mind already shifting to the day's grind. 10 minutes down the road, it hit me like a punch. My work badge and office keys still sitting on the nightstand. No way into the building without them. I cursed quietly, flicked on the blinker, and made a U-turn at the next intersection. Annoying, but fixable. Just a quick detour home. Or so I thought. I pulled into the driveway. Emily's SUV was still there. Normal, she worked from home. Then I saw it. Mike's truck, parked right behind hers. I sat there for a beat, engine idling, brain scrambling for excuses. Maybe he needed something quick. Maybe they were troubleshooting her laptop again. Maybe. The excuses came fast, automatic, desperate. I killed the engine, stepped out, and walked to the front door. It was ajar, not wide open, just cracked enough that someone had hurried through and not bothered to latch it. I pushed it slowly. The house was dead silent. No cartoons, no kids laughing, no coffee maker gurgling, just nothing.
Then I heard it. Soft music floating down from upstairs. One of Emily's playlists. The slow, moody one she only put on when she wanted to unwind or set a mood. My pulse kicked up. Each step on the stairs felt like wading through water. My head screamed, "You're overreacting. There's an explanation. Don't do this." But my body already knew. At the top, our bedroom door was half shut. Breathing. Murmurs. That intimate, private laughter people share when they believe the world is locked out. I eased the door open. There they were, Emily and Mike, on our bed, naked, entwined, like it was routine, like it had been routine for who knows how long. Mike saw me first. His face went blank, pure shock. Emily turned a second later. Our eyes locked. She gasped, yanked the sheet up, voice cracking. "Jack, wait, it's not—" Mike scrambled off, fumbling for clothes. "Bro, listen, it's not what it looks like." But I didn't explode. No shouting, no fists. I just stood, frozen in the doorway, the room spinning silent around me. 9 years of marriage, 20 years of brotherhood, evaporated in one glance. Emily started sobbing. "Please, let me explain." Mike kept babbling. "It just happened. We didn't plan." I raised one hand. They both shut up instantly. Then, in a voice so calm it scared even me, I said the only thing that mattered. "Get out." Mike snatched his things and bolted past me without another word. Emily lingered a moment longer, tears streaming, still pleading, but I turned away. The front door clicked shut behind her. Silence rushed back in. I walked into the bedroom, stared at the rumpled sheets where they'd been minutes ago, sat on the edge of the bed. For a long time, I didn't move, didn't cry, didn't rage. I just thought one thing, over and over. They think I'm shattered. They think I'll scream or cry or beg or forgive. They have no idea. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to confront them in public. I sure as hell wasn't going to forgive. No, I was going to wait, plan, and when the time came, deliver something colder than they could ever imagine. Because the best revenge is served ice cold. People assume revenge is loud, screams, shattered glass, public blow-ups, but the deadliest revenge is silent, the kind where you smile through the pain, act like nothing's changed, and let them dig their own grave while you watch. Patient, methodical, inevitable. That night, Emily came home, eyes swollen, cheeks streaked from crying. She hovered in the doorway of the living room like she wasn't sure she still belonged there. Then, barely above a whisper, "Jack, please, talk to me." She broke down again. "It was a mistake. It just happened. I swear it meant nothing." Those words, I'd heard them in movies, read them in stories, but hearing them from her, from the woman I'd built my life around, landed like ice in my veins. Different. Final. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse, didn't beg. I just looked at her steadily and said the one thing she wasn't expecting. "I need time to think." That was all. No fight, no tears from me, just calm. It threw her off balance. She wanted anger, something she could fight, apologize to, cry over. Instead, I gave her uncertainty, hope. The dangerous kind that keeps people close while you plan. I slept on the couch that night, not out of heartbreak, not to punish her, to think, to remember. Patterns, schedules, habits. And slowly, the pieces clicked. Wednesdays. Every single Wednesday, kids at school, me at work,
Emily working from home, Mike with his flexible hours. That was their safe window, the one day they felt untouchable. Biggest mistake cheaters make? Thinking they're the smartest ones in the room. Over the next few days, I played the part perfectly. Polite to Emily, present for the kids, homework, bedtime stores, the usual. Work like normal. Mike texted twice. "Bro, I'm so sorry. It just happened, man." I left both on read. Silence is a weapon. It breeds guilt, anxiety, mistakes. Exactly 1 week later, another Wednesday, I did the morning routine, kissed the kids, said goodbye to Emily, grabbed my keys, drove off. But I didn't go to the office. I parked 2 streets over, out of sight, engine off, and waited. Heart steady, mind clear, patient. At 10:14 a.m., right on cue, Mike's truck turned onto our street, pulled into the driveway like it was routine. Emily opened the door in her robe. They hugged, quick, familiar, disappeared inside, door shut. I checked the time, leaned back in the seat, and smiled for the first time since that morning. The trap was set long ago. What they didn't know, what they were walking into right now, was about to unravel everything. Not just for them, for the whole damn neighborhood. Because some secrets aren't meant to stay hidden. I sat in the truck for 20 long minutes. Engine off, windows cracked. Just watching the house I'd poured years into. Where Ethan took his first steps. Where Mia learned to ride a bike in the driveway. Where we'd built what I thought was unbreakable. Now, it was the backdrop for their betrayal. Again. Clock hit 10:37 a.m. Plenty of time. Enough for them to relax. Enough for them to forget anyone might interrupt. I stepped out, locked the door quietly, and walked down the street. No rush, no anger, just control. Before I left the truck, I'd already made one call. Not to the cops, not to Mike, not to Emily. To Mrs. Carter next door. The neighborhood watch in human form. Nothing escaped her. Every strange car, every late-night visitor, every whispered argument. She answered on the second ring. I made my voice sound edged with worry. "Mrs. Carter, I think I left the stove on when I left for work." "Oh my goodness, Jack, that could start a fire." "I'm stuck in traffic. Could you maybe call the fire department to check, just to be safe?" "Of course, dear, right away." I thanked her and hung up. Then I kept walking, slow, deliberate. Right on schedule, the sirens started. Distant at first, then closing in. Fire truck, ambulance. Neighbors trickled out onto lawns, phones raised, curiosity turning to concern. I timed my arrival perfectly, seconds behind the crew. Looked convincingly confused as they rushed the door. "What's going on?" "Report of a possible fire hazard, sir." They pushed inside. I followed. Then the scream came, from upstairs. Not terror, not panic, pure, mortified horror. The firefighters exchanged glances and bolted up the stairs. I stayed close behind. They flung open the bedroom door, and everything detonated into chaos. Emily and Mike, still on the bed, still naked, still very much stuck. They were frantically trying to pull apart, but they couldn't, because a few days earlier, I'd swapped the lube bottle on the nightstand, the one they always reached for during their meetings. Same label, same pump, same weight, but inside, industrial-grade superglue, the kind that bonds skin in seconds. The firefighters froze for a beat. One muttered, "You've got to be kidding me." Emily dissolved into hysterical sobs. Mike looks like he was praying for the earth to open up. They tugged harder, making it worse, skin pulling, pain flashing across their faces. Paramedics were called up immediately. Blankets draped over them, not for warmth, but for whatever dignity was left. Neighbors crowded the street now, whispering, recording, the whole suburb getting a front row seat. It took 40 agonizing minutes. Special solvents, medical tools, careful separation, all while questions flew. What happened?
How long? Are you okay?" Finally, they were loaded into the ambulance, blankets clutched tight, eyes down, avoiding every gaze. Doors slammed, sirens faded. One firefighter lingered on the porch. "Sir, you the homeowner?" I nodded. "Yeah." He glanced at the retreating ambulance, then back at me. A small, knowing shake of his head. "Well, that's a new one. Definitely not something we see every day." I shrugged, voice steady. "Yeah, me neither." Inside, the house was quiet again, but something had shifted forever. They weren't just caught, they were exposed, humiliated, and the whole neighborhood knew exactly why.
The ambulance disappeared around the corner, red lights fading into the afternoon haze like the last echoes of a bad dream. Emily and Mike were gone, for treatment, for explanations, for whatever fragile dignity they could salvage in that sterile ER room. But the real destruction wasn't in the hospital. It was already spreading like wildfire through the neighborhood I once thought was safe and predictable. Within 20 minutes, small clusters of neighbors formed on driveways and sidewalks, whispering, glancing toward my house, phones lighting up faces in disbelief. By the time the sun dipped lower, the story had mutated into a dozen versions. They were stuck together. Firefighters had to cut them apart. It was the wife and some guy. A teenage kid across the street had captured the chaos on his phone, sirens, blankets, paramedics hurrying in, and uploaded it to the neighborhood Facebook group before anyone could ask him to stop. Within an hour, it was shared in private group chats, texted between friends, even screenshotted and sent to people who didn't live on our street. Suburban gossip doesn't need facts, it feeds on shock. I didn't go out to explain, didn't post a defensive message, didn't confront the stares. I closed the front door, locked it, and sat on the couch where not long ago we used to watch family movies. The house felt vast, echoing, not with pain exactly, more like the quiet after a storm has passed and you're left surveying what's left standing. Ethan came home from school first. He dropped his backpack by the door, looked around, and asked the question I'd been dreading. "Where's Mom?" I knelt to his level, kept my voice steady. "She's not feeling well, buddy. She's at the doctor. She'll be okay." He nodded slowly, sensing more than he understood. Mia burst in minutes later, oblivious, hugging my legs and demanding ice cream like always. For them, the world hadn't cracked yet. I made sure it stayed that way as long as possible. That evening, Emily called from the hospital. Her voice was raw, barely above a whisper. "Jack, I don't know what to say. Please, just let me explain." I let her talk for a minute. Tears, apologies, promises it was just a mistake, that it didn't mean anything. Then she said the line that cut deeper than any excuse. "I think I should move out. For a while. Maybe permanently." Not because I demanded it, because the shame had finally sunk in. The neighborhood she once loved walking in, coffee in hand, waving at everyone, was now a place she couldn't face without feeling every eye on her. She packed a suitcase the next day while I was at work, took only what she needed, left the rest. A week later, the divorce papers arrived, clean, uncontested. She didn't fight for the house, didn't fight for primary custody. She just wanted out of the memories, out of the judgment, out of the life we'd built on a foundation that turned out to be hollow. Mike's fall was quieter, but no less brutal. Word reached his company faster than I expected. Someone in HR had a friend in the neighborhood, or maybe the video made it to LinkedIn adjacent circles. 2 days after the incident, he was placed on administrative leave. By the end of the week, termination letter in hand. Conduct unbecoming, they called it. Last anyone heard, he sold his truck, packed what fit in a U-Haul and drove to Las Vegas. A fresh start in a city built on second chances and neon lights. I don't wish him ill. I just don't wish him anything. As for me, I kept the house, repainted the bedroom, bought new sheets, Not to erase what happened, impossible, but to reclaim the space. The kids adjusted faster than I did. Ethan threw himself into soccer, scoring more goals than ever, like the field was the only place the confusion didn't follow him. Mia still yelled, "Daddy's home," every evening, and every time those little arms wrapped around my legs, the weight on my chest lifted a fraction. Therapy helped, once a week. No judgment, just a safe place to unpack the anger I'd kept frozen for so long. Financially, it wasn't easy. Alimony for a short transition period, splitting savings, but I kept the pool, the backyard, the swing set, the things that mattered to the kids. And slowly, the neighborhood moved on too. The whispers faded, new families moved in, the Facebook group returned to lost dogs and garage sales. Life normalized. Not the same life, a quieter one, and more honest one. Late at night, when the house is dark and the only sound is the hum of the fridge, I still think about that Wednesday morning. The forgotten keys, the U-turn, the cracked door, the moment the illusion shattered. And I've come to a strange, quiet conclusion. That one small mistake, forgetting my keys, might have been the single greatest gift my life ever gave me. Some people spend decades in marriages built on comfortable lies. They never see the betrayal coming. They never get the chance to choose truth over illusion. I did. It hurt like hell. It cost me years of trust, a friend I thought was family, a partner I thought was forever. But it also freed me. It let me rebuild something real, for myself, for my kids. People still say revenge is cruel. They're not wrong, but betrayal has its own gravity, its own consequences. And sometimes those consequences arrive with flashing lights, public exposure, and a very long, very uncomfortable ambulance ride. Mine did. And in the end, I'm grateful, because the worst day of my life turned out to be the day I started living again. Thanks for reading all the way through. If you've ever been betrayed, know this. The pain is real, the scars are real, but so is the possibility of coming out stronger on the other side.